Hey, hi, hell. Hey, hi, hello. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Jess, and I'm here to talk about what I read in August because it's September. Yes. It's September, the 9th month of the year, of the calendar year of 2024. Somehow. It's September. That seems totally reasonable. And not like anyone's playing with the clocks. No, not at all. Not at all. God damn it. Okay, anyway, so I feel like I read a lot, and maybe it's just because part of what I read in August was Words of Radiance, and that was a fucking lot. Now, Words of Radiance, I technically finished on September 1st. I tried so hard to finish it on the 31st, and I just like could not. And I finished it the next day, but I'm gonna mention it in this wrap up anyway. On Goodreads it says September. Here I'm telling you that, but I'm just gonna include it in this here wrap up. So for September, no. For August, I read, see now that's crazy because I could have sworn I read like 15 books. I guess it'd be that fan fiction. Because when you look at my Kindle, you know, if you look at the Kindle app and it'll tell you all the days you're reading on your Kindle, I may miss 1 or 2 days a month, honey. I don't know if I'll put it in here, but I'm like, yeah, I'm reading books left and right. Correction, I am reading books, but I am also reading fan fiction. Whatever, still good. So in the month of August, including the book that I finished on September 1st, I read 7 published works during the month of August, which is good since one of them was 1,080 pages. So we're gonna start with a Patreon recommendation that came from my Patreon TBR jar. Shout out, I think Danny recommended this one. It's called Woodworm, and it is originally written in Spanish. I believe the author is from Spain, by Leila Martinez, I think. Don't quote me on that. So I gave this one 3 stars. I don't know how to explain this story. It's really like about this mother and her daughter, but kind of like this history, their history, but also just the history of women who under patriarchy in Spain, and like especially when they don't have a choice, they don't have a financial option, they don't come from a good family, this is their only way to escape. So it was a very unique way to tell that kind of story, but I just don't think the storytelling itself worked for me. Like the story, I was like, oh, okay, I see what we're talking about with like just cycles of abuse, really. Cycles of abuse and like cycles that are perpetuated under patriarchy. And you know, women, they get trapped in a relationship and they have to stay here for whatever reasons. And then sometimes that is passed down. Your daughter does the same thing. And like, sometimes you got to do different things to get out of these situations. And so I think the story itself, while not like I haven't read anything like that before, I'm like, okay, yeah, like this is cool and you're telling it in a different way, but the way it was told, not my favorite, because we have like the house that is kind of its own entity, and then I just can't explain it, and I don't know if it's the way it was translated or if it would read like that in Spanish. I think that's always something hard with translated work. You don't know if it's really just how it was translated or if the author's writing wouldn't work for you. So I don't know. It has a really great rating and I think a lot of people could enjoy it. It's just the way it was told, and I just don't know how to explain how it was told. It was like back and forth perspectives between like the mom and then the daughter. I don't know. It was interesting though. It was very interesting, and it was a translated work, so I'm glad that I read it. But I didn't love it. Okay, and then controversial, and I was thinking about doing a separate video for this, but I don't know, but I read Blood at the Root. So I had an audio copy from Libro FM, thank you so much, and I wanted to read this when I had heard about it originally because it's like a magical HBCU, so historically black college or university. That's what they're called in the United States. And I was like, ooh, now of course, I've heard it pitched as Black Harry Potter or something, and I'm like, okay, we have reached the point where we don't need to use that as a comp title, but I understand it's a very popular way to get people to be engaged and like want to read your book. But I don't think it's, I mean, magic in a school, I just don't think you have to call it Black Harry Potter. But there has been mess, and I guess maybe the author has been slightly messy on Twitter or TikTok in talking about his book. And allegedly, and I say allegedly just because I have not gone and done the research and seen where he said this, that he was like making comparisons between his book and Legendborn and saying Legendborn starts with, you know, or contains a lot of black trauma, but it's not really a black book. Because our main character is black, but she's not surrounded by any black people, and that his book does not have black trauma, but is really a black book. And I will say this, that there's still trauma in the story, especially with how it starts with the main character and what happens to his mother. But I mean, if we want to just facts, that Legendborn, we have our main black character, and there are a couple black people speckled throughout the story, but for the most part, she's surrounded by white people. That is a fact. And Blood at the Root is just mostly black people, so that's a fact. That's just facts. I will say that against popular opinion, because I did not love Legendborn. I didn't like Legendborn. I preferred Blood at the Root. I thought I had a better time. I will say my biggest complaint with Blood at the Root, and I say this about any book that I read that this happens in, is all of the pop culture references. I hate it because I just feel like it dates a book. Like you're gonna read it in a couple years and be like, oh my God, this is so 2000 and late, whatever. Whenever you read that, and especially, and I know that this is supposed to be at a historically black college, a historically black magical one. But it's like, I think there's other ways. All you had to do, you're telling me the characters are black, the way they are interacting with themselves, I understand different slang and words they're using, but like it became to be too much. Like we're in a college class and we're saying, child, and it's the white supremacy for me. It's just like those little things. I'm like, okay, we get it. Okay, we get it. Those are my things. But I thought it was an interesting story. Like we have this kid who something bad happens to him in his youth and he ends up in foster care. He has these powers he doesn't know what to deal with. And then, you know, he turns 18 and all of a sudden these people come into his life and are telling him, you know, about these things and about this school and there are people like you. And so he's going somewhere to learn how to harness his magic and all of these things, which I always love me a school setting. And then of course, it being a historically black college, there are elements of true US history, or really international history, included in there about, you know, racism and slavery and stuff like that. But I just thought some of it was like really cool, like some of the courses and how the magic worked. Now, can I explain perfectly how the magic system works? No, I don't think that was well. It just is like, there's magic, but I can't explain to you like the magic system. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of just like, they can teleport, they can kind of do these like mind travel, teleportation things to times in the past. So it's not very concrete how the magic works. But also in the audio, there's like sound effects. So when they like, something would happen or maybe they were teleporting, there's like a whooshing sound. And like, so that made it really fun to listen to the audio. But overall, I would give it like a 3.5. I think I rounded up to a 4 on Goodreads. Not a perfect book, but I did enjoy it, and I am interested with everything that we learned. And there was some twist in there that I was like, okay. That, yeah, I'm interested to see where the next one goes, and I will be reading that. So those are my thoughts. If you want a further video on like the drums that was going around with that and more thoughts about the book and stuff, let me know. I'll make it. I'll just have to go dig into the mess. So tell me down below. Okay, then I read the chunky, and some of these books I have, and I don't know where they are. Ship of Magic. I read Ship of Magic finally. I've owned this book for I don't know how long. I've been saying I want to read it for I don't know how long, and I finally did it. Robin and I did a kind of buddy read. Basically, I was reading The Way of Kings, she was reading Ship of Magic, and then I read Ship of Magic, she was reading Way of Kings. But we, we're talking about it together. And this was so good, so much better, as I was anticipating, than Farseer for me. I know a lot of people love Farseer, and that's fair. Today, Jessica may feel a different way than when I read it. When I read it 2020, 2019. I can't remember. But I think the downfall of it was all being in Fitz's POV for me, and Ship of Magic, we get multiple POVs. And no one told me, if anyone had told me this sooner, I probably would have read Ship of Magic a lot sooner. It's a family drama. A magical family drama? So Ship of Magic, most of you probably know, in these, there's live ships. And basically, they are like owned by a family, and after I think 3 generations, like with the death of like the 3rd generation, they quicken, so they basically become like sentient live ships. And they are like, but there's only certain families that have these, and they're just better at, you know, sailing, and they can like outrun pirates, and they're just like better overall than a ship that's not alive. Vivacious, sassy ship, okay? And so much of this book, it's so interesting to enjoy a book so much and dislike so many of the characters, because let me tell you, no spoilers, Kyle. I hate Kyle so much. From the second I met him on page, hate. His wife, Kefria, hate that bitch too. Her mother, Ronica, I'd fight her. Let's see, Kefria's daughter, Malta. Fuck that hoe, can't stand her. What's his name? What's the little whiny monk boy? I can't think of what his name is. Wintro? At first, I was feeling empathetic, but he kept, and I was like, shut the fuck up, I'm so tired of you. Oh my God. Punch. Like, so many people deserve to be punched. Althea, I'm rocking with you, dog. Brashin, I don't know how to feel about you, homie. What that pirate man name is, I don't like him. I don't like his hoe neither. So that's just, it's very interesting because it's like a book series where you're not really rooting for many people, if anyone at all. I don't think Robin was rooting for anyone at all, but the drama of it, the family drama, the ship, the maneuverings, the machinations is so intriguing. It is 880 pages. I think better paced than Way of Kings and Words of Radiance. Still too long. Like, I really felt like I was a little lagging in the middle where I was like, okay, we get it. They're on a ship. We don't need to keep like, come on, let's get to the point. But still, I think I gave this 4-star, very strong 4-star. I'm very interested to see what happens next. I think we're not reading the Mad Ship until November, if I remember correctly, which is great because I have a lot of things to read. But like, I had a good time. So if maybe Farseer was not your favorite, but you still like Robin Hobb's writing, because I really loved her writing, didn't love that trilogy in particular, please try The Live Ship Traders, and especially if you love a family drama, because it is messy and you just be mad. And I will say that this is like, obviously, I've only read 1 book in this trilogy, but they keep talking about Rainwild, and that makes me want to get the Rainwild Chronicles. I don't know if that's next, though. I don't know the order. I would have to look at that. Let me not get ahead of myself. I've only read 1 book, the 2nd series of not the Farseer. What's her whole thing called? Realm of the Elderlings. But I had a good time. So if you were like me, not the hugest fan of Fitz, the Farseer trilogy, give Ship of Magic a try. Then I finally read a book I was supposed to read months ago. Let's not talk about it. Poverty, which is a nonfiction. It's called Poverty by America by Matthew Desmond. I read Eviction by this author several years ago. I still remember the visceral reactions I had when listening to Eviction, and I don't know why I don't have a physical copy yet, but I do have one of Poverty, and it's in the room. And I could talk about that one at length, and I meant to have a live discussion about it, and I am me. You know what I'm saying? And I won't say it's as good as Eviction, even though that feels weird to say. I still think it was really well written, and I think he really does like do his due diligence in his work. And a lot of it's not like it was wholly new information, the concept, but it gave me a lot of tangible like things to reference, statistics, moments in time, ways that we could eradicate poverty in America. When someone's like, oh, well, we couldn't do that, it would be too expensive. I'd be like, hold up, actually it wouldn't. If only the 1% of people in our country actually just paid their share of taxes. Wouldn't that be crazy? So I really appreciate it for that. Like concepts I already knew just from growing up as a from a low income family. Now, with the numbers that they present in the book of what it means to live beneath the poverty line, I didn't grow up in poverty. Well, you know, I don't know how much my parents made, but like we always had food. And you know, most of the time we had the lights were always on. We did have to heat the house with the oven sometimes, but you know, whatever. So, but then there's levels of poverty, like there's deep poverty, and it's just insane because regardless of what people think of adults, which I'm not condoning what people think of adults, I just am always flabbergasted that people proclaim to care about children and yet they let them suffer in poverty, in deep poverty. Like I've had conversations with people who are like, well, that person's lazy, or I'm working hard, I'm working 2 jobs, blah, 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 blah. They shouldn't get this. And I'm like, okay, but what about the kids? Like, I still don't, like, your take is still very surface level on the person because you don't know their struggle or like what they're doing. And a lot of poor people work multiple jobs, okay? But I'm like, so many people claim to care about children. I'm like, so what about the kids? They don't deserve to have a free lunch? Like, this is a conversation we're having currently in America where people are like, well, I just don't, I wouldn't want, like, why should we have free lunch? Like, are you listening to yourself? You're saying out loud, why should a child be able to receive a meal for free? Are you fucking kidding? Like, that shit pisses me off. I don't understand how people's brains work like this. What do you mean? So yes, and he breaks down, like, you know, our welfare programs, and oh my God, okay, one of the most flabbergasted things, I don't know why I said flabber like that, I was mind blown about. I wish I had the book right in front of me, but it was talking about basically like the different money that states are allotted for their welfare programs that are like the food stamps or EBT, electronic benefits transfer, whatever. The different things that the government provides if you are a low income person. So it's no longer federally regulated. No longer federally regulated. They give the money to the states and the states get to decide what they do with the money. And these states are spending the money on whatever they want to. Like there was a scandal with Brett Favre, the football player, and he was like paid $1 million for like these speeches or something. This is money that's supposed to be going to people to help them, to help with housing costs and food. But they're spending it on motivational speakers and on evangelical this. And some of the states are just hoarding the money and they don't even spend it. And like, so one, if you don't believe that, you know, poverty can be solved in America, or maybe you know that it can, you know it's an issue, but you want like the tangible things to tell people, like, no, this is actually how we could do it. These are the problems and this is how we could correct it. I would recommend you read it. It's gonna make you mad as it has made me, and I'm mad just thinking about it again, but I think it's really good. It is very short. It's like less than 200 pages and the audio narrator is really good. So you should read it. Yes. Okay. Whew. I also read Annie Bot. And this was by Sierra Greer. This is another audio that I got from Libro FM. Thank you. And I was like intrigued because Annie Bot. I don't know how to explain this. I didn't rate this one. Essentially, Annie Bot is like a type of AI companion robot that was created in this world. And there is a version that is more for like housekeeping to keep your house like clean and stuff. And then there's another one that's more like a sexual companion. And we're following one who is more of the sexual companion, but he has had her for a while and kind of, I think there's, I don't know if it's like a system override or something where she has more abilities. Like she does all the stuff around the house too. But he's a man, so is he pleased? No. And it's just like, from her perspective, their perspective, I don't. And it's just very interesting because it's just like, but also infuriating because men, why are they? And just the different things, like he has this bot in his life after, I forgot if he was married or it was just his girlfriend and they broke up. And like he ends up having to introduce her to someone he knows, and he's like very ashamed of her, like of having this bot, but then is very, he's just so weird. Like, he's so mean to her a lot of the times. And of course she's programmed to like please him and like can read his emotions and stuff. So she's always like, when he's upset at something, even if it's nothing she did like intentionally, because obviously like she is smart, but she has limitations, and is still like reading this and still like, what can I do to like make his anger come down or make his pleasure go up, or just, I was just infuriated with it. But I personally love how it ended. It was different. It's different, but I guess it's just another way of storytelling, just like really how men are and how they can be, and how much they feel ownership of usually women that they're in partnership with. And granted, I guess he did own her because he like bought her because she is a robot, but she has feelings and emotions. So you're like, she's not a robot, she's like a person, but you know she's not a person, but like you're like, she still deserves to be treated better. I don't know how to explain it. If anyone's read Annie Ball, I would love to know your thoughts on it. But it definitely was unique. And yes, it was unique. I finished Amari and the Great Game. I have not finished The Despicable Wonders yet though, but I did read Amari and the Great Game, and this was my first time reading it, because when it came out I was like, oh, I'm gonna read it, and then I was hearing people like their emotions on the book, and I was like, wait, I'm gonna wait. And I was gonna wait because I thought this was a trilogy, and internet cousin BB said no. He posted on Goodreads that this is not a trilogy, there's supposed to be 5 books, so joke's on me. So it's gonna be interesting to see how Despicable Wonders ends. If it ends on a cliffhanger, I'm gonna be so mad. But anyway, Great Game was so good. I loved it. I was stressed from the very beginning. I was pressed, I was mad, I was anxious, I was frustrated, I was having fun. And because I haven't read middle grade fantasy in a long time, I don't know why, but I was like, wow, I forgot how much fun middle grade fantasy can be. So Amari and the Night Brothers is the first one. I hope that you've heard of it before. But again, it's a middle grade fantasy. Her brother goes missing and she does not believe he's dead, but everybody else is like, well, it's been a long time, he's dead. But she gets this like invitation to basically like this supernatural investigation, kind of like summer camp. So it's like magical school, but it's like a summer camp kind of thing. And it is so much fun. I really love the world that BB Alston created, and the characters. Amari is a great character, even, you know, she can be frustrated because she is a middle schooler, but a lot of good twists and turns, and they read really quickly. So I loved the first one, and so going into the second one, I'm not surprised that I loved it. And I'm just very nervous now to finish Despicable Wonders, because I'm like, well, now if there's gonna be 2 more books, how is this gonna end? Ah! But yeah, it is a great game. There was so much going on, and I was like, ah! And woo! And right now I'm reading Despicable Wonders, and I'm like, how are we going to solve this? How? Stress. So there's that. And finally, Words of Radiance, which I don't have a lot of words about, because if I talk about this book anymore, I'm going to scream. I finished. My audio got snatched back from me, and I still had like 150 pages I had to read with my eyeballs. And here's what's frustrating to me about Sanderson, especially in a book this long. Again, Words of Radiance is 1,080 pages. Is if you are a Sanderson reader, you know about the Sanderlanche at the end when everything starts to happen, which is fine if I've been reading a 400-page book, but I've been reading for 1,000 pages. God damn it. So all of these things happening in the last 200, 150 pages, I should be like, and this was a reread because I had fully read this one. So I did remember a lot of the end because of this, the big part happening. And I still had to go over, you know, because I was taking notes, but I was like, okay, yeah, but I'm over it. I'm tired. I've been reading for way too fucking long. And I will argue to my dying day. Granted, let me take that back. Once I get through all 5 books, I have working theories currently, but I'm gonna get through all 5. But I highly suspect I will still have this theory. Not theory, it's a fact, okay? It's a fact to me. And so that's subjective, whatever. These books are too fucking long. And to have the audacity for every book in this series to be over 1,000 pages, and the audacity to add novellas in the middle, like there's a 2.5. I'm not fucking reading that shit, Brandon. Put that shit in the book if it's important. That just seems like you add, like you're writing fan fiction for your own book. I'm tired. You got these interludes. Put what shit you need in the pages, Brandon. I am tired. Here's the thing. I don't hate the books. I don't hate the series, or I would not subject myself to this. I am invested enough by my reread of Way of Kings to be like, ooh, oh yeah, I remember this intrigued me. Oh, also this. I want to see how this all comes together. I want to know how that finishes for myself. And so that's why I'm doing this. It's not a hate read, but it does very much feel like a research project in college. And that these are like my primary textbooks I'm referring to, right? But they're like better than the regular textbooks. They're like better written, a little bit more entertaining. We're getting like direct quotes from some of the historical figures referenced in the text, but it feels like a research project. And I just believe that they can be shorter. Like I just don't know how many times I need, like in Way of Kings, how many times I need to see a bridge run or talk about that. We don't, the repetition is annoying. I get it, Brandon. How many times do I need to see a duel? I don't, okay? Some of it, fine. I don't need to see it every time. It is so by the time I got to the end, where it's like, I was like, oh, brother, let's wrap it up. And I hate that. And I know I am in the minority because these books have a ridiculous rating on Goodreads, like a 4.6. Crazy. Love that for y'all, but I still, on a reread, do not understand it. I really don't. So I would give it a 3.5, but we could really, these could be under 1,000 pages. They really could. I'm sorry, I started yelling. Anyway, that was my wrap up. That's what I read in August. What did you read? How was your reading month? And then as far as fanfiction words, I don't know right now off the top of my head, but I can insert it here once I calculate that. I don't know how much, but at least these last couple, I read a lot more in the beginning of August, and then once I started Words of Radiance, that really fell to the wayside. And I'm reading a fic right now that's like 300 something thousand words, and it's so good. God, these writers are fucking incredible. It's so good. Anyway, so I've been doing a lot of reading in general still, and I love this for me because I feel like slump who? Because when there's a slump, I always have somewhere to go. You know what I'm saying? So that was my wrap up. Again, tell me what you read in August. What are your plans for September? I did post a September TBR. However, I forgot 4 books. I forgot the 4 books that I have to read for Bindery. Because those books come out next month, so I have to read those books like soon. And I can't think of what they're called. If I feel like it, I'll put them in here. If not, whatever, you'll see it when the video comes out. Oh, fuck. Well, I have like 2 books out from the library right now, and I need to finish those because they're gonna go back soonish. And then I need to start those. It just seemed like I had so much time, and then all of a sudden it's September and they come out next month. Like, what the But I have to read them because I need to get my NetGalley score back up to 100. Okay. So that's it for me. Thank you so much for watching, and stay blessed, hydrated, moisturize, and sunscreen. I'll see you in the next one.